What happens when a young advocate steps into the lion's den of global diplomacy, where power is currency and reputations hang by a thread? At the prestigious International Youth Leaders Conference, Barron Trump finds himself in the crosshairs of a cunning adversary determined to tarnish his name. But as the tension mounts, a simple question emerges: can one voice, armed with resilience and truth, rise above the noise to inspire a room full of skeptics? The hall buzzed with energy as young leaders from across the globe gathered in Geneva for the annual International Youth Leader Show. Barron Trump, seated quietly near the back, adjusted his name tag and took in the grandeur of the venue, a modern glass structure overlooking the tranquil Lake Geneva. The air was filled with a palpable excitement as attendees exchanged ideas, made introductions, and prepared for the week ahead. Barron was here not as a privileged heir, but as a passionate advocate for environmental reforms. He had spent months preparing a comprehensive proposal on sustainable urban development, believing it could serve as a blueprint for cities worldwide. Yet, as he scanned the crowd, he felt the weight of lingering gazes and murmured whispers. Despite his best efforts, the shadow of his family's name followed him everywhere. The opening ceremony began with fanfare, a parade of national flags and a stirring musical performance. Delegates applauded enthusiastically, their hopes for collaboration shining brightly. The keynote speaker was none other than Ambassador Richard Grayson, a seasoned diplomat known for his sharp rhetoric and polarizing opinions. As Grayson took the stage, his commanding presence silenced the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," Grayson began, his voice booming, "it's inspiring to see so many dedicated young minds gathered here today. You represent the future of global leadership." His tone shifted slightly, becoming sharper. "But let us not mistake attendance for contribution. Some come here seeking prestige, not purpose." Barron's heart sank as Grayson's eyes flicked briefly in his direction. The implication was clear, and the murmur of whispers rippled through the room. Though no names were mentioned, Barron felt the unspoken accusation settle heavily on his shoulders. After the ceremony, Grayson's path intersected deliberately with Barron's. The ambassador's imposing frame cast a shadow as he extended a hand in mock cordiality. "Barron Trump," he said, his tone clipped. "I trust you're finding the conference enlightening." Barron met his gaze with quiet confidence. "I am, Ambassador. The discussions so far have been productive." Grayson smirked, his handshake firm to the point of discomfort. "Productive, you say? Tell me, are you here to champion ideas or to leverage your family's name for influence?" A small crowd began to gather, sensing tension. Barron's expression remained calm, though his mind raced. "I'm here to discuss actionable solutions for sustainable urban development," he replied evenly. "And you?" Grayson's smirk faltered for a fraction of a second before he recovered. "Don't get cheeky with me, boy. You'll find that names carry little weight here, unless of course they're a liability." The remark hung in the air, a thinly veiled insult that drew audible gasps from nearby delegates. Barron squared his shoulders, his voice steady. "Then perhaps we should focus on the merit of ideas rather than the weight of names." Grayson wasted no time in sowing seeds of doubt. During the first panel discussion, he subtly undermined Barron's contributions, redirecting the conversation with pointed questions. "Mr. Trump," Grayson interjected, cutting off Barron mid-sentence, "while your enthusiasm is commendable, do you have concrete examples to support your claims? Or are these merely theoretical musings?" Barron, undeterred, responded with well-researched data, but the damage was done. Delegates exchanged wary glances, and the room's atmosphere grew chilly. Grayson's strategy was clear: erode Barron's credibility bit by bit. In the evening, Barron retreated to the quiet of his hotel room, poring over his notes to prepare for the next day. A knock at the door startled him. It was Amina, a young delegate from Kenya, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you could use this," she said with a smile. "You handled yourself well today." Barron accepted the coffee gratefully. "Thanks. It's not easy when someone like Grayson is determined to discredit you." "He's threatened," Amina said simply. "People like him don't like being challenged." The next morning, during a roundtable discussion on urban sustainability, tensions came to a head. Grayson, moderating the session, repeatedly interrupted Barron, questioning his figures and dismissing his ideas. "Mr. Trump," Grayson said with a thin smile, "can you name a single policy your family has successfully implemented for the environment? Or are you just here to compensate for their shortcomings?" The room fell silent. Barron's knuckles whitened as he gripped his pen. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Ambassador Grayson," he said, his voice calm but firm, "I'm here to discuss solutions for the future, not rehash the past. If you'd like to address the data I've presented, I'm happy to clarify any points." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Grayson's smirk disappeared, replaced by a glare. The delegates watched intently, many silently rooting for Barron. As the session ended, several delegates approached Barron, expressing their support. Amina was among them, along with a young engineer from Germany and an environmental activist from Brazil. "Grayson's behavior is unacceptable," the activist said. "We need to stand together against this kind of bullying." Unbeknownst to them, another delegate had recorded Grayson's tirade during the session. The video quickly spread across social media, drawing widespread condemnation. "Stand with Barron" began trending, and messages of support poured in from around the world. The next morning brought a bombshell. A prominent journalist published an expose revealing Grayson's history of leveraging his position to silence critics and manipulate outcomes. The revelations cast a dark shadow over the conference. During the day's main session, Barron addressed the delegates. "This conference is about collaboration," he said, his voice resonant. "We can't let personal vendettas overshadow our shared goals. Let's focus on solutions, not divisions." The room erupted in applause, many delegates rising to their feet. Barron's composure and leadership earned him newfound respect. Grayson, cornered and desperate, stormed into the next plenary session, demanding to defend himself. His attempts to justify his actions were met with silence and skepticism. Delegates openly challenged him, calling for his resignation. Amina stood. "Ambassador Grayson, your actions have undermined the spirit of this conference. It's time for you to step aside." Grayson's face flushed, but he realized he had lost. He left the conference in disgrace, his career in tatters. With Grayson gone, the conference regained its focus. Barron's proposals were adopted into the official recommendations, a testament to his perseverance and vision. That evening, as delegates celebrated the conference's success, Barron reflected on the journey. Amina approached him, raising a toast. "To standing strong," she said. Barron smiled. "And to building a better future." The story of Barron's stand against Grayson inspired headlines and discussions worldwide. His speech went viral, becoming a rallying cry for young leaders everywhere. Messages poured in from people who found hope and strength in his example. Back in his hotel room, Barron gazed at the city lights reflecting off Lake Geneva. The week had tested him in ways he hadn't anticipated, but it had also affirmed his purpose. As he packed his things, preparing to return home, Barron felt a quiet resolve. The road ahead would be challenging, but he knew he was ready. Sometimes, he realized, the battles we don't choose are the ones that define us, and victory isn't just about winning. It's about standing firm for what's right. With that thought, Barron turned off the lights, ready to face whatever came next.